The old Roman Catholic cemetery at Bunbury in Western Australia was established on 1 acre on Russell Esplanade in 1841. The first burial was of a young mother named Eliza Keegan in 1842. From then until 1954, approximately another 550 people were buried there. The cemetery was, however, established in view of the beach amongst sand dunes. These dunes moved with the winds and began to swallow the cemetery. In March 1934, a visitor wrote that vandals had stolen many of the pickets from the fence, which had been noted as a problem as far back as 1898. The fence, in any case, was being pushed out of position by the weight of shifting sands. Several graves had been covered to a depth of many feet of sand. The gate was missing and a length of timber nailed across the entrance. As for those graves not buried by the creeping dune, there was evidence cattle had wandered in, grazing off weeds growing there so high they impeded movement. Bushes planted had become so overgrown that the tombstones could not be seen without pulling branches out of the way. In August 1946, it was reported that 6-foot-tall tombstones had almost been engulfed by the sand, and smaller stones already deeply buried. The same sand had already reached the fence of a private home, and threatened in time to inhume that property as well. The dune which caused this problem was quarried, and there had been at least 2 landslides, which caused concern that children who habitually played there would be buried alive by a large fall of sand. On the 7th of October 1947, carters removing sand from the hill behind the cemetery unearthed an old grave marker. It was made of wood and was in the shape of a heart. Although the inscription was almost illegible, it was eventually deciphered to read, "In loving memory of our darling baby, William Joseph Riley, who died April 9th, 1912, aged 5.5 months. The 50-foot-tall sandhill had been the main source of sand for landfill and other commercial use in Bunbury for many years, and it was thought that excavations were away from the boundary of the cemetery. By October 1948, the council had bulldozed the sandhills without regard to the destruction of the environment and the scenic beauty of the area. The loss meant that Bunbury lost its natural windbreak, and the trade winds off the Indian Ocean were already blowing sand drifts off of the beach into the closest houses and gardens. A former mayor of Bunbury, Mr. Clark, said the sand swallowing the cemetery had been a warning of what interfering with nature could cause, not a reason to create more damage. Some of the graves were exhumed and the remains reburied in the Bunbury Town Cemetery when the sand began its encroachment, but many people lacked the funds to move their deceased relatives. The cemetery was graded flat, forever obscuring the last resting places of some 520 individuals. The cemetery was converted into a park, with a single signpost to remind passers-by of those interred beneath.